Okay, I am here with my mom, Wendy Schisler, and I wanted to talk to you about your experience with estate planning before I started doing this work in this kind of way. So, can you tell me about that story?
Yes. Actually, we postponed uh, structuring or getting a will, and so our experience is fairly fresh. It's fairly new. We did it within the last, I think, around a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago.
I think you started in 2018, but it didn't actually get finished
Oh, okay.
for a while
Yeah.
because I remember the dates when I looked at your
Okay.
plan. So it took a while, yeah.
And at the time, it was our second attempt at putting a will together, and both attempts were fairly the same, very generic. It was pretty much what I expected. It was going in, it was having the lawyer ask us a multitude of questions, me answering yes, 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 um, or, whatever my response was to his questions. Um, and sitting there, and one of the things that happened was at that time we did our medical uh, power of attorney and financial, and it seemed very common. It seemed like common sense, since you were a lawyer, you were the firstborn, you lived close to us, to name you uh, as responsible in all of these different areas. But as we were doing it, I became sad because I was extraordinarily concerned that your brother would feel that he didn't have an equal say in estate matters, our medical decisions that you had. And when I brought it up to the lawyer, it was kind of pushed aside, and we just proceeded. So one of the things when you approached me that I like that came out, I think, really early in our discussion was my concern that your brother feel that he is every bit as much a part of actually the estate planning and what happens with us medically as you are. So
Right, because I think I just asked you what's important to you. Like what matters
mm-hmm,
to you
mm-hmm,
when you're doing this,
mm-hmm,
and that was what you brought up.
mm-hmm,
And I was really really surprised kind of because
mm-hmm,
you've always worked really hard to treat us equally,
mm-hmm.
and that's always been very important to you, but we had never talked about it in that context. And then I asked you if you had voiced that concern to your first lawyer, and you said you had, but he had kind of
Right.
brushed it off, and I was really sad and angry. And then so you can say as much or as little about this as you want, but I learned during that conversation that had actually come out of a prior experience for you. It had been
Right.
heightened.
Well, it was our experience with our parents, both sides. And one of the things that I think what I was aware of before we lost the last parent on each side um, was that, like it or not, the how you leave your estate, how who you appoint, who you choose to trust, who you involve in the planning, certainly makes a statement to all that you leave behind uh, about, you know, their specialness, their place in your life, how you viewed them, how much you love them is what it boils down to in my mind and my heart. And I wanted our experience to reflect, you know, an equality that
it makes
has
sense
always
that,
been, yeah.
it makes sense that that you're having a lot of feelings. I am too, and I was really grateful that you and I got I mean, really, it was just the first opportunity, but I was really grateful that since I started doing this work, you and I have gotten, and Dad, to the extent he participates, but we've had a chance to start having these conversations, and I think it makes one of the things I've learned since I started doing this is I think actually talking about and planning for these things, it makes like your life more joyful because you know everything is going to be taken care of the way you want it to be.
When I left the lawyer's office, I left under the impression that that's just the way things were done. And when I talked to you and it was so simple, you know, it was amazingly obvious to me that family conversations, family meetings, that there are ways of setting up of bringing this all together in a way that when the time comes for you and your brother to move forward, I'm not going to be impacted, but I want to make sure that you both move forward. Number one, together. You are, you are each other's family when we are gone. And I have seen too often the estate break that down. So I want to do everything that I can possibly think of to not have that happen. And I also want it to be as easy for you two as possible because losing a parent is one of the hardest things.
Yeah, and I think, I hadn't, you're a strong Midwestern woman, and I didn't really, we hadn't talked about really what made, some of the things that made it harder for you when you lost your parents, and I know especially your mom, because moms and daughters are close and have a special relationship. And so one of the things we talked about was that we might not even necessarily be changing any of who your agents are. Like, it might still be me, but we will have a family meeting and where we can talk about all of these things. And I don't, obviously if I'm the person you name to take care of things when you're gone, or if something happens to you, I want to be doing it the way you would want. And now I know, and I'm just really grateful. I'm grateful to you for being willing to have these conversations, because I know they are hard. It's hard to think about not being with the people we love.
Right.
And I'm really grateful for just knowing that we should have them and having this opportunity. So,
well, I am too. And I do have to say that after having talked with you, these were things that I had never given, they just didn't exist in the realm of possible, nor had I given the whole estate planning process much thought.
yeah.
I actually was one of those people that thought that I could probably just print off some papers from the computer.
Yeah.
And but I do, after speaking with you, I feel that this is this is definitely the path or the road that I would like to take, and that makes me feel the most comfortable moving forward.
Thanks. I know you're biased, but
I not much.
I agree.
I'm also smart.
yes, that's true. Yeah, well, I'm on a mission to try and get as many people as possible to be able to have the choice to do this in the way that works best for them. And so thank you for sharing your story. And I think it'll raise questions for people, hopefully, and help people to start having these conversations with their family.
I hope so.
Thanks, Mom.
I love you.
I love you.